Did you know that salt holds a much deeper meaning than it appears? In the Bible, salt is not just seen as a condiment, but as a powerful spiritual symbol. In this video, we're going to explore how salt is used in the Bible as a spiritual weapon for protection, purification, and prosperity. Throughout history, both in the Old and New Testaments, salt has played a crucial role in the lives of God's people. Stay until the end because I'll reveal 3 ways to use salt in your daily spiritual life to help you break curses, attract blessings, and protect yourself from negative influences. Now let's uncover the profound meaning of salt in the Bible. The first mention of salt in the Bible is related to the salt covenant. In Leviticus 2:13, God instructs Moses about offerings. Season all your grain offerings with salt. Do not leave the salt of the covenant of your God out of your grain offerings. Add salt to all your offerings. What does this mean? In ancient cultures, salt symbolized permanence and incorruptibility. Salt covenants were considered eternal because salt is a mineral that doesn't decay over time. In this way, God used salt as a physical reminder of the eternity of his covenant with his people. The salt covenant also appears in Numbers 18:19, where a covenant is established with Aaron and his descendants as priests, saying, "It is an everlasting covenant of salt before the Lord for both you and your offspring." In this case, salt represents not just a culinary symbol, but an eternal spiritual agreement and a divine promise. So with every sacrifice offered at the altar, God's people renewed their eternal covenant with the Lord. Salt has also been used in scriptures as a tool for spiritual warfare. In 2 Kings 2:19-22, we find a story where the prophet Elisha purifies the waters of Jericho using salt. The people came to Elisha, complaining that the water was bad and couldn't sustain life. Elisha, following divine instructions, threw salt into the water and declared, "This is what the Lord says, I have healed this water. Never again will it cause death or make the land unproductive." This act wasn't a magical ritual, but a demonstration of God's power through simple elements like salt. This story shows that salt preserves not just physical life, but also spiritual life. When evil forces try to corrupt what is pure and holy, salt, used in faith, can purify, protect, and restore. From this perspective, salt becomes a powerful spiritual weapon in the hands of those seeking divine protection. When Jesus said in Matthew 5:13, "You are the salt of the earth," he wasn't just talking about giving flavor to the world. Jesus was highlighting the importance of purity, preservation, and integrity. As Christians, we are called to be a reflection of Christ, preserving the values of God's kingdom in a world that often strays from its divine purpose. Salt has the ability to prevent corruption, and we as followers of Christ are called to be an influence that upholds spiritual morals and principles in a chaotic world. But Jesus also warns, if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? This is a serious warning. When we stop fulfilling our divine purpose, we lose our spiritual effectiveness. Therefore, just as salt preserves food, we must preserve our faith and kingdom values without compromise. Throughout history, many cultures have used salt as a symbol of protection. In scriptures, we see that salt also plays a role in spiritual practices. In ancient times, salt was sprinkled on doorways to protect against evil. Today, some Christians still follow this practice, praying as they sprinkle salt around their homes as a sign of divine protection. There are testimonies of people who, using salt with prayer and faith, have experienced deliverance from negative spiritual influences. However, it's important to clarify that salt itself doesn't hold mystical power. The power lies in faith and God's action through simple symbols like salt. Lot's wife, turned into a pillar of salt, is one of the most famous stories in the Bible. But why salt? Why not dust or ash? Salt represents the permanence of God's judgment, but also his divine purification. Lot's wife's fate was sealed, and in that pillar of salt, a warning crystallizes for all generations. Elisha did not need a magic potion. He used a simple element, salt. This was no accident. Elisha understood that salt, created by God, had the power to cleanse and purify. He threw salt into the water, and instantly the barren land was restored. This same principle applies to our lives today. When we use salt with the right faith, We invoke God's power of restoration and healing. Finally, we've come to the practical part of this video. Here are 3 ways to use salt in your daily life to break curses, attract blessings, and protect your home. Prayer and sprinkling of salt. Pray with faith as you sprinkle salt around your home.